Okay, so now everything has been done, from definitions through your results and your discussion. So you've pretty much finished, the bulk of your entire report. And it's kind of good, getting these three sections out of the way, because it clears you up to write your conclusion and then write your introduction. Sometimes writing the introduction is difficult. And of course, you can't write the conclusion until you're done with all the other parts anyway. So let's look at the conclusion that I've got, that I wrote. And so remember, my report is on roller coaster design parameters, specifically the vertical height of roller coasters versus their speed. So in my conclusion, this is what I said. An analysis of vertical height and speed random variables of roller coasters in the United States in 2015 was conducted to search for a design relationship between them. Descriptive statistics, histograms, and box plots were used to describe the distribution of datums in vertical height and speed random variables. Descriptive statistics, histograms, and box plots all reflect a slight right-skewed nature of the height datums and largely a symmetrical shape of the speed datums. So I'm just, very quickly summarizing what I found in my results section and the discussion section. Together, vertical height and maximum speed have a very strongly correlated linear relationship. So this comes from my scatter plot stuff. The line of regression proved to be a good estimator of the sample data with a 95% confidence level. In conclusion, the maximum speed of a roller coaster in the United States can be predicted knowing the vertical height. Knowing the vertical height of a roller coaster can inform park goers which roller coasters to ride or avoid. So it's usually a little bit easier to maybe write the conclusion first. And so then after you write your conclusion, then you can write your introduction. Now, I was trying to find a reason personally to, wonder why height and speed would be of any interest to anyone. And what I came up with is maybe knowing, the height, that then someone would know, whether it's going to go too fast for them, and they would either then choose to ride or not ride a roller coaster. So certainly, having this linear relationship and having this line of regression would allow me or allow anyone to do that. You can correlate speed with height. So if you know the height, you can estimate the speed of that roller coaster. So writing about that here in the conclusion gives me some idea of what I want to say in the introduction. So if I come up here to the introduction, first, I kind of put some information about roller coasters in general, saying that the first recreational amusement ride was built in the early 1700s. In 1784, Catherine the Great of Russia had an amusement ride of wheeled carts on grooved tracks. Now, of course, I don't know all this stuff, personally. I went online to look for a little bit of history about roller coasters. So I want to show where I got this information from. And so you can see I've got left bracket, right bracket, and a number 4. And so this means all of this came from reference number 4. And if we come down to our references, you can see reference number 4 is this Wikipedia link. And I've got the webpage link here down at the bottom. So this is where I got that information, was from reference number 4. And later, I got information from this reference, also in Wikipedia, and this is reference number 5. So if we come back up again to my introduction, let's see here. So in 1845, the first permanent roller coaster park catering to the middle class was built in Copenhagen, Denmark. And this information about Tivoli Gardens, that came from reference 5 that you just saw me talk about here. In the late 1800s, the first vertical loop was introduced, and many roller coasters were built with this feature. These roller coasters were extremely dangerous. Many passengers experienced whiplash. So, I thought that this was relevant, a relevant fact, because roller coasters can be harmful, they can be dangerous. So knowing something about roller coasters and how they're designed can help anybody maybe avoid an unpleasant experience on a roller coaster. And because I know a lot of people up here love Disneyland, I kind of put this last little factoid about the Matterhorn bobsleds at Disneyland were the first roller coasters to be built from tubular steel tracks. And of course, I didn't know that. I got it from this Wikipedia page. So this came from reference number 4. So, this was all stuff that I had, rewritten in my own words. So I don't need to quote, these Wikipedia pages that I got this from, but I certainly didn't know it, from my profession. So I have to reference it. I did put this statement in quotes because supposedly this is something that the proprietor of Tivoli Gardens actually said to King Christian the Eighth of Denmark. So that has to be in quotes. Okay, so this is a little bit of history about roller coasters. But of course, my report isn't a history lesson. So that's what my second paragraph is about. So I said, people by the millions visit amusement parks and experience the harrowing speeds and contortions of roller coasters to temporarily forget the trials and tribulations of everyday life. Okay, so I just kind of came up with that on my own. As roller coaster speeds and contortions become more and more extreme, it cannot come at the cost of safety. General mechanical engineering principles come into play when designing roller coasters. Yet, without an engineering degree, it is possible to find correlations between roller coaster variables and make use of the correlation. Okay, so this is where now I'm kind of getting into what my report is going to be about. So, this is a general history of what roller coasters are. Here I'm saying everybody uses roller coasters, but roller coasters are getting faster and more extreme. And that roller coasters are designed by, specific engineering principles. And so we can start to understand those design principles without actually having an engineering degree. And so then I said, for example, if a person were sensitive to high speeds, could they determine the maximum speed of a roller coaster by knowing its vertical height? This report seeks to identify a correlation between speed and height. It should be on American roller coasters from 2015 in order to give said person the means to judge whether to ride or avoid any given roller coaster. So this last line, is kind of what this report is about. And if we go down to the conclusion I have is knowing the vertical height of a roller coaster can inform park goers which roller coasters to ride or avoid. So that same sentence that I put in my conclusion, you want to have that same sentence here in your introduction. So this last sentence is what this report is going to be about. And then therefore, that's what I should finally conclude this report with. So writing the conclusion comes a little more naturally from the definitions, from the results, and from the discussion section. You're just kind of summarizing what you've got. And after you summarize all this, you can kind of come up with a conclusion, a takeaway, something that everyone would want to know by the results of your report. And kind of once you have this in mind, that actually helps you write the introduction because that's how the introduction should end. But you can give a little bit of background into, the subject matter of your report, in which case mine was roller coasters. So I just gave a little 1 paragraph history of roller coasters. And then I kind of led into why my report would be important. It would be important to millions of people, and you don't need to have a mechanical engineering degree to kind of understand how roller coasters work. And my report is going to help you understand how roller coasters work so that you can either ride or avoid them. So that kind of gives some interest, some motivation, and a goal for this report. So that's what you need to do for your report, is write a conclusion that's relevant to your subject material, and then write an introduction. So in addition to this video, I've also provided this in PDF format, so you can look at this a little more closely. Also, I did intentionally put references in here, so don't forget to add references if you use information from another source. Okay. All right. Thank you and good luck.